Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first Sunday chats in this year's Surviving Your 20s Sunday Chats Instagram Live series. Thank you so much for joining us, those who are with us now and those who will be joining during our replay. As I wait for people to join in and for Peteché to join, I just want to tell you all a bit about Sunday Chats. So Sunday Chats started last year, and this started the same month in November of 2020, and I had 3 speakers come in last year and they dropped so many gems. Those speakers were Corel Pinder, who spoke on God's purpose for my 20s. Then we had Quentin Gibson, who is a certified financial planner, and he spoke about finances in our 20s. And then we had Zemi Stewart, who spoke about managing expectations in our 20s. I must tell you, last year's Surviving Your 20s Instagram Live series was amazing. And this year is promised to be just as good. At this time, I just want to encourage you all to like the Instagram Live and to share it with a friend. Also, I just want to big up my sponsors. So this evening, I am wearing a leopard print dress from Wife Her Boutique. Wife Her Boutique was started by Zemi Stewart, and Wife Her Boutique has come on as one of our sponsors this year. And during one of our Instagram Live series, we will be giving away a gift certificate to Wife Her Boutique. So stick around for that. Another sponsor is the G Label Boutique. And the G Label Boutique is a boutique by Gabrielle Ramming. And even if you do not win one of our prizes, you can feel free to use my code SHARSMINE at the G Label Boutique, and you can get 10% off your next order. Our other sponsors include Maybelline New York, who gave us their entire line of lip glosses. So it's about 8 lip glosses in their new lip gloss set. And then we also have Neutrogena, who gave us a wonderful gift bag. So please listen attentively. If you get questions right, you can enter in for a chance to win one of our amazing prizes. Our guest speaker today is Peteché Bethell. If you are a Bahamian, you may know Peteché. Peteché is an attorney who works at one of the leading law firms here in the Bahamas. She's also the founder of P3, which stands for Power, Passion, Purpose Project. And in this P3 project, Peteché seeks to mentor young women in high school as they navigate transitioning from their teenage years to adulthood. Peteché also recently ran in Miss Bahamas Universe, and she represented the beautiful island of Eleuthera. And I don't want to be biased, but Eleuthera is where my father is from, so Eleuthera is definitely one island that I hold near and dear to my heart. And at this time, I will now invite Peteché to come on, and we're going to start our chat on finding purpose in your 20s. Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as well. You look
Oh,
gorgeous.
thank you. So do you. I love this dress that you have on. When I saw all of your sponsors, I was like, okay, so how am I gonna get into this though? Because I want to win some things too.
Definitely gonna be in for a chance to win a prize in the other live sessions. But you're gonna know all the answers, so I won't give you a prize tonight, but you're gonna get it. So before we get into the series of questions on purpose, aside from what I've already said, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, well, I thought you did a really good job at summarizing me as a human. But other than that, I am 25. I have lived in 3 countries. So I grew up in the Bahamas, went off to boarding school at 17, lived in Italy, and then did all of my university things in England. So yeah, I have 3 dogs called Bailey, Brandy, and Chai, and I love them very much. And yeah, I think that's it. I love to travel. That's a huge hobby for me. Absolutely love to travel, love to go on the boats and kind of experience everything that the Bahamas has to offer as well. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Nice. Okay, so before we go to questions, I know you told us a bit about yourself, but I just want to play a quick game of rapid fire questions. Are
Okay.
you ready?
Okay.
You can travel to any island in the Bahamas. Which one would it be, other than Eleuthera, and why?
It would probably be Exuma, just because there are so many different keys around it that you can go to. That's my second favorite island here. So yeah, it would definitely be Exuma.
Awesome. I also want to visit Exuma. Okay, next question. I know that you said you're 25. So we're talking about surviving our 20s. If you could relive any other year in your 20s, which year would it be and why?
24 was pretty great.
Hmm.
24 was pretty great. I feel like when you think about your 20s, 21 is obviously a significant one, 25 is a significant one, but 24 was the year that I kind of did the most with my life. Got called to the bar in 2 jurisdictions and started P3. So even though there were lots of ups and downs because of the pandemic, and obviously we were all dealing with personal issues, that was the year I kind of pushed myself and accomplished a lot of the things that I have been wanting to do for a while. So 24 was not bad. The early
Okay.
20s were a little bit of struggleville. So I try not to think too much about them. But obviously, I think that paves the path for the women that we become as we get older. So still grateful, but would I want to relive them right now? Perhaps not.
I can relate to that. When you think about like bar school and how difficult bar school was, because the two of us did law in England, I think that trauma stays with you for a while. I definitely want to live my time in bar school.
The only thing I could say about becoming an attorney in that regard is once you go through the process and once you become, like, once you go through that whole bar school thing, you can do anything.
That's so true.
Because if you survive that, I'm pretty sure you can go out and just conquer whatever it is. I don't care if you want to change your career and become a chef. Lord, my whole errand's open. Anyways, so y'all just
Okay.
have to see one earring. It's from Bahari, by the way. But anyhow, once you get through that bar school process, like you could really go out and achieve anything.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. This bar school is still, like, just thinking about it, it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Like I would not want to do it again. And
And it's a
every
perfect.
time every time someone comes to me and they ask whether or not they should become a lawyer or like any advice, I'm like, the trauma still it right there. I'm probably not the person you should be asking this about because I will deter you and send you in the complete opposite direction.
Scars you for life, honestly. And Tina commented a laugh in the chat. She has endured the struggles of bar school as well. But anyway, thank you so much for playing that short little game. So now we're going to dive into our conversation today, and we're talking about finding our purpose. Now, Peteché, you're definitely someone that a lot of us can look up to as someone who's definitely walking in your purpose.
Thank
So
you.
my first question to you is, what is your definition of purpose? And then do you think everyone has a
Okay. So when I think about purpose, I go back to my law school days. When I did law school, I did a double major, so I studied psychology and law at the same time. And doing a dual major was great, but that, compared to like a lot of my life, I felt like I didn't really fit into one specific sphere, right? So I knew that becoming an attorney was something that I needed to do, and that was a part of my purpose. But it wasn't necessarily my passion, and it wasn't something that I was excited about. I think there are some people who go into law school because they know that they've wanted, like they've watched CSI and Law and Order and all of these things their whole life. Me, I've never
yes?
watched any of those shows. ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I ever will because I grew up in a household. My mom is an attorney, my aunt is an attorney, all of my mom's friends are attorneys. So that just wasn't for me. So I was sitting there and I was getting good grades, doing all of this, but I didn't feel fulfilled. So I would keep circling this question in my journal and keep saying, okay, well, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? Like that was a constant thread in my mind that kind of kept rehashing itself. So when I think of purpose, I think about destiny and executing destiny. Like you know that you have a mission that you need to accomplish. And there's like, I think, first of all, I don't know if this is the question, the follow up question, but my answer is yes, I do think that everybody has a purpose, right? But I think that that's kind of like a multifaceted thing, and it's also something that you can see through different aspects of your life, right? So when you're thinking about fulfilling this goal and this mission, it's what you came on this earth to do, what you were placed here for at this specific time in history. Because I mean, this world has existed for a very long time. It's not by chance that you were placed here, that you were from the Bahamas, that you went to the school that you went to, that you're entering the career that you're in, that kind of thing. That's not by chance at all. That's something that was lined up. Whether by you taking active steps or whether it was something, I guess, predetermined for you, I'm still on a little bit on the edge of. I think it's a bit of both. Um, but I think that's a safe answer that attorneys technically like to say. So it's always the safe answer. It depends, right? But yeah, so I think when you consider purpose, definitely it has to do with your destiny, and it can change in a season. It can change from time to time, place to place, but overall, it's kind of like this hovering mission that you're on and that you have to execute throughout the rest of your life. So,
Okay, I really like that answer. So you mentioned that you studied both psychology and law, and you also said that your passion. So would it be fair to say that our purpose be connected a bit to our passion?
I think that you live out your purpose through exploring your passion. So I think that that's definitely, there is a connection there. I don't think that they necessarily all the time have to overlap because there may be some sort of things that you like to do for fun that don't necessarily tie into like this whole big serious topic of having to complete a goal before you die, basically. But I do think that executing your passions, finding them, exploring them are definitely ways to get to your life's purpose. Because one thing I think that a lot of 20-year-olds kind of delve in and try to figure out is okay, probably the same question that I had: what am I really doing here? You know, like you go to school, you're given all of these tasks and stuff, but like, what is the real point of it? What am I doing? What am I here for? You know? And I think exploring passions is definitely a way to find that.
Mm. So speaking of passions, passion is one of the keys in P3, right? So can you tell us about what your passion was and what do you think your purpose is?
Okay, so, well, okay, hold on. Those are two completely different things. So, in terms of my passions and the things that I like to do, I am a self-development like junkie, and I think that derives directly from me trying to figure out, okay, what am I doing with my life? So, I started, and there are two books that I would really recommend. The first one is like more for younger females, I guess, and it's called The Sparkle Effect by Kristen Dalton. And that was a book that kind of eased my qualms because it was like, okay, you're sitting here and you're trying to figure this all out. You don't really need to do that. That's not your job. Your job is to show up in every single role that you associate yourself with to the best possible version that you absolutely can, you know? Show up 100% all the time, and that will lead you somehow in that zigzag to finding out what your life's purpose is. So, yeah, self-development, and I guess that kind of ties into connection with other people, because that's something that I am quite passionate about, communication and connection, which is kind of, I guess, how I got into law. I love writing. I love speaking to different people and connecting with different people. And then I guess you get into education and empowerment. So one thing that I so grateful for when it comes to my boarding school that I went to. It was a UWC, and I'm just going to put a pin in there because UWC Bahamas is offering scholarships right now. So if you know any young people that are in grades 10 to 12, you should definitely tell them to sign up for that, because that experience, I give my hats off to that, because in the Bahamian education system, we're kind of taught that it's like education is a means to an end. So you're learning things to get an A on an examination. You're learning things to get a scholarship. You're learning things so that you can go to university or the best university. When I went to UWC, that changed. So all of a sudden, it became an intrinsic thing that I was actually interested in. So you're learning like the core subjects that you would actually learn, but they give you the flexibility to explore things that you may be interested in. So I remember like for my history assignment, we had to do like a big essay thing that was basically half the grade. And I got to write a thing on pageantry, like the history of pageants. And so, yeah, like you just get the flexibility to actually just explore things and delve into things that you may be interested in or not. So, education for sure, and revamping the education system here is something I am really passionate about doing. And I appreciate that a lot of people think that that's something that is the government's job. Maybe I will do that in government somehow one day. But I also think that it's a civic responsibility from each of us who have been off and seen what the world has to offer to kind of implement that and push that in younger people here too.
That's so, so important, education. So again, Peteché just mentioned that UWC is currently offering scholarships. So if you know someone in grade 10 through 12, please let them know about this amazing opportunity. I think it's so cool that you're talking about the history of pageantry in a history class.
Yeah, it was really funny because I was supposed to do something on, I can't remember which segment of Bahamian history, and I was supposed to do the research when I went home in December. Now, we all know when you come home for Christmas break, you ain't doing no work.
Oh,
You're not doing any work at all. So I had like 3 days left before I was supposed to be going back to school. The library's closed, and I was like, this ain't gonna work out because none of these resources online. So what I didn't get when I first came home is not happening. And so when my history teacher, she was like, "You're gonna do what?" And I was like, "Yeah, we can work with this." And I actually ended up getting a really good grade. I'm pretty sure nobody else in the history of IB schools ever did that. But yeah, that was what I was interested in from back then. So it worked out.
okay, so now piggybacking, talking about writing about the history of pageantry. You recently entered Miss Bahamas Universe,
Yeah.
and I'd love to hear about your experience and what inspired you to enter. From what you're saying, I can see that you obviously always had a passion for pageantry, but can you tell us a bit more about that?
Okay, so I will go back to what inspired me and then I'll talk about the
Yeah.
entire thing. My friends on here are going to be really mad because I have refused to discuss anything. They're like, okay, do you want to talk about it now? And I'm like, y'all need to stop asking me that question. Leave me alone. So it was really funny because when we had the summit yesterday, I started to talk a bit about it with the girls, and my best friend, she was like filming it, and she texted my mom, and she's like, "Hey, you need to jump on this live right now." She's talking about it. But anyway, so what inspired me? Well, my dad died when I was 6, right? And like I said, my mom is an attorney and she's like the ultimate girl boss. So she was working, as a single mother as well. So it was like kind of my responsibility to find the things that I would do like during summers and evenings, extracurricular activities and what have you. So I used to dance, and in our dance booklet, there was this ad about this teen fantasy camp thing run by the Miss Universe organization, and it was a 1 week camp at Atlantis with like hair and makeup tutorials, runway coaching. You got to like listen to motivational speakers and interact with the girls in the pageant. I was like, okay, that sounds great. I mean, that still sounds great. Like, if I could go now, I would still go, but they don't have it anymore. So I said, okay, I'm gonna give this a go. At that time, I don't think that pageantry was something that was taken very seriously in the Bahamas. Um, it wasn't something that, you would turn on your TV and watch every occasion. But it just so happened that when that camp came here, the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA and Miss Universe, I think 1 year as well, then started to come to the Bahamas and it got a bit more popular. So during that camp, we would have the coaches were basically current title holders. And that I went there for about 3 years, from like 13 to 15, which I think is a very influential stage in a child's like life, right? It's kind of the stage where you're figuring out the type of person you want to be and all of that. And they were really foundational to me, particularly because I didn't have any big sisters. I had one big cousin, Dakira. She was great, but more influences I found were better to kind of shape me and just figure out the type of woman that I wanted to become. So that was always in the back of my head. And I remember promising myself from that time that one day I would do the pageant. It's so weird. I talked about this to the girls because you kind of see a model image of what a pageant girl is supposed to look like, or do or sound like. And at that time, for sure, the mold is shifting now, but at that time, that was a size 2, 5'11", typically white girl, and they just had like a sugar-coated image, right? If you didn't know these people, that's the kind of image that I think a lot of people have of pageant girls. Vapid even, they don't have anything going on. The only thing they care about is doing their hair and makeup, right? Um, the girls that I met were not like that. They were businesswomen, they had multiple degrees, and they would actually take the time to like answer our questions and go through things that we were dealing with at the time, whether it be like boyfriend issues, friend issues, whatever, parental issues. And there were some really serious things that came up during that. So I was like, okay, one day I'm gonna do it. I kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. I remember someone asked me to be in a teen pageant once, and I was like, no, I'm not skinny enough for this. I can't do this right now. I think I had a boyfriend at the time, so I was like, I have a boyfriend. I think I should wait until I go into Miss. That was like, first of all, that's a huge misconception, okay? They all have boyfriends. Let me just throw that out there. They're not perfect people. They're doing everything that you're doing, and so you should just go for it. The second thing is the whole thing with, I think, like body dysmorphia, which is something that I think a lot of women deal with. Because at that point, when I look back at pictures, I'm like, shoot. When I lost the weight for the pageant, like me at 14, 15, that was the goal that I was trying to get back to. And at that point, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't like the biggest thing in the world, right? So I kept putting it off. 19, I thought about going into Miss World Bahamas, and I was like, no, I probably need to build up some more, lose some more weight, do all of this. And it just got to the point where I was like, okay, Peteché, you're home now. You have a nonprofit organization. You've already finished school. What are you waiting for? You've done all these other amazing things by 25. And the one thing that you're going to let deter you from entering a pageant is not being the typical pageant body. That makes no sense to me. And at the point that I had to make the decision, I had already lost like 40 to 50 pounds. And I was like, okay, I think we could do this. We could train, we could do whatever we need to do. I'm just gonna the worst they could tell you is no. So I did. And luckily I was accepted as one of the finalists. The
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. The experience itself, wow, it was very, very difficult. As you know, the law is a very jealous mistress. And as an attorney, your clients and your work always comes first. So I had to keep up with full-time work. And as you will also be aware of as an attorney, that's just not 9 to 5. It goes into your mornings and into your evenings. It's a never-ending job. If there's work, and you have to do it. What exacerbated the difficulty was that my grandmother, shortly after I got accepted, she got sick. And so she was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and we had to deal with picking up the load because she was ill, and then also kind of like balancing caring for her and making sure she was okay at the hospital. And then she died. So then that was funeral planning and all the emotions that go into the loss of a grandmother, the loss of a parent, dealing with a parent who is experiencing that loss and everything. So it was like a really bittersweet moment for me because I was living out this thing, like this childhood dream that I knew was a part of my destiny for so many years and that I had waited so long for and trained so long for as well, because I had been training from my bar school year actually, because when I went to London, I realized that the Miss Universe that I looked up to the most was actually living in London. So I wrote her an email and she was like, yeah, I'll train you. So it started from then. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like that was pretty cool. So I was basically training from like 2019, come straight up. And so everything just started to move very, very, very quickly. And I was doing all of these great things. The good thing about having a platform too is where I was kind of like lagging and slacking with P3 and saying, oh, I don't have the time. I'll do this like another month and everything. Because you're in the spotlight, you actually feel like propelled and pushed to do things. So I got started back up with P3 and that was great too, but that was like another thing on my plate. So my days were quite literally the entire like span of curfew. I would wake up at 5 o'clock, be out of my house by 5:30, and I wouldn't get home until 9 o'clock. And that was for the entire duration of the pageant. Cause yeah, it was just crazy. Cause there's so many things that go into it. The fitness part of it was something I knew I had to be on top of. And even though it's really annoying because I knew that I was working for that aspect of it much harder than everybody else. And everybody would be like, yeah, I'm going to go to Wendy's today. And I was like, you're going to go do what? Like, it was really, yeah, that part of it, I was like, okay, I just had to suck that up and be like, okay, fine. Necessary evil. You got to look great on stage. You got to do what you got to do. So there was that. There was runway coaching. There was Q&A coaching. There was judges interview. And then, of course, every time you make an appearance, you have to look good. So find time to shop, do all of these things, and then actual rehearsals, which would be all afternoon on Saturdays and Sundays. So it really, really felt like I was running around like a headless chicken a lot of the times. And my schedule was so jam-packed that if I was 10 minutes late to like the first thing, the
Yeah.
entire
So,
day would be off schedule.
uh-huh.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say it was bittersweet. I'm
Mhm.
definitely upset with the outcome, but I know that Chantel will do an excellent job at Miss Universe. And like me, she's someone who has been in the pageant world for a very long time, and she's competed quite a lot, so she knows the ins and outs. So I have no doubts that she's going to do a great job there. You
Okay,
can ask
so
me any other questions that you want, piggybacking off of that too. I
uh,
will answer them now.
obviously this was like a very, very demanding time for you. And at the beginning of your talk on pageantry, you mentioned that you weren't the typical sad. So that coupled with you being an attorney, and no one ever would look at an attorney to go into pageantry. So how did you really deal with people's reactions to, oh, Peteché thinks she could enter Miss Universe, who she thinks she is? Like, how do you deal with stuff like that? And even when we think, piggybacking off of this, when we think about our purpose in general, we can be doing something and people are like, oh, who she thinks she is. Like, how do you deal with these negative comments that people may make about you when you're walking in your purpose?
So I was really lucky because the positive comments that I got actually outweighed the negative ones. Now, we all know it only takes one person to say one thing, and that can kind of derail all the positivity and all the good things that people have been feeding into you. But I think I didn't realize how many people, like, I thought this was a secret that I was keeping to myself that I was going to do Miss Bahamas one day, but a lot of people knew, and they all started reaching out to me, and the support and the outpour, particularly when it comes to things, because pageantry is very expensive. So particularly when it comes to people just giving me like, here, I know this is something that you've wanted to do for a long time. You're beautiful and intelligent. I believe in you. Here's some sponsorship. We want to help you. Like that was wild to me. I never expected to receive that much support. And that's how I knew that was like something that God had kind of put in line for me, because it's never difficult when it comes to things like that, right? And when God has kind of like just laid your path out for you, you know? So that was a good thing. Now, it was really weird because one or two comments that I did get, none ever surprisingly referred to my weight. I think that was more of an internal struggle that I had to deal with. But in terms of being an attorney, the comments I would get was, why do you want to do that? Like you're above that. Why would you want to go into pageantry? You don't need that. You come from a good family already. Your future's already lined up. Why would you waste your time doing something like that? And I couldn't understand where that was coming from and why they were trying to push that narrative, because if anything, I think you should, if you're able and you've achieved all of these things, you should be sharing your gifts with other people, and you should be trying to motivate young girls. And that's exactly what pageantry does, you know? There are so many outlets that are like male driven. And when you think about sports, predominantly they are fused towards and catered towards like young boys. Pageantry, no, first of all, nobody can tell me that pageantry is not a sport. That is 100% a sport. Okay? But just like the empowerment and the well-roundedness, everything that you have to do to get into pageantry, so the community service, the etiquette, speaking to people and public speaking, all of those things, they're such valuable things to a young girl that I just couldn't understand why I wouldn't do it. And that's really what pushed me. I thought about how I sit down and I talk to these girls at P3, and I tell them all the time, like, yeah, just go after it and do what you want to do. And I was like, Peteché, you cannot let your fear stop you from going after something that you want to do. Because if you do that, you're a hypocrite. You cannot stand up and tell all these girls, be empowered, follow your passions, find your purpose, do all of this, and just sit down because you are not a size 2. Quite frankly, like when at the competition, I think I was a size 6. After the competition, I'm probably like an 8 now, like a size 8 now. But I don't think I'm ever going to be a size 2 or a size 4. That's just not me. You know, the only thing that I could have been was the best possible version of myself. And that's what I did, and that's what I encourage all of us to do. You know, just challenge, just push yourself, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally. Just try to push that limit because um, when you're dealing with transitions like that, I think they're really difficult and you really want to cave in a lot of times. But when you get to the other end, it's like bar school, right? You feel like giving up every single day you wake up. It's terrible. But once you meet your goal, it's such a beautiful thing. And I guess my mom, when I was doing bar school, she was like, think of it like, think of it like a pregnancy. You'll have a really bad pregnancy, but at the end of it, you'll have a child. And I was like, And then, I did it during the pandemic and the 9 months extended. So I was like, Mommy, this is not like pregnancy. I've done my full 9 months and it's still going on. So like that's kind of what I had to think about it, but in a more condensed version with the pageant. You kind of run, 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 run. And at the end, because I knew that I had done everything in my power to kind of give the best version of myself and the best performance, the only thing I could do was walk away with a smile. Yes, I was upset that I did not win, but at that point, there was nothing further that I could have done to prepare. So, yeah.
And I think with you even entering the pageant, you have inspired so many young people, so many young women now know your name. They know you. They know what your platform was because you entered that pageant.
Yeah.
And even though you took one, I think you made a huge impact in the lives of young women. And just going onto your page, checking out P3, it's like this girl is amazing. So
Thank
I just
you.
want to keep your head up because you did exceptional job.
Thank you.
And things that you said that really, really stuck out was for us to not allow fear to stop us from pursuing our passions.
Yeah.
That is really so important. Honestly, like fear honestly cripples us so much, and we could be saying that we want to do something for such a long time, but because we're scared of maybe how people would react, if we're not good enough, we may never actually do it. So this is your reminder, if you're watching right now, don't allow fear to stop you from pursuing your passions. And another thing that you just said that also stood out was that wherever we are, we must be the best version of ourselves. I can't be the best version of Peteché because I'm not Peteché.
Exactly.
I can be the best version of Charlie. So that's an encouragement for everyone in this live right now to just be the best version of ourselves.
I just wanna say one more thing when it comes to me, I guess, being out of the box when it came to like your typical pageant girl of what we would think about in the Bahamas. And that it would just be a suggestion to think out of the box and to do your research because the rest of the pageant countries around the world, I think, are leaps and bounds ahead of us. So when you look at the girls that are now placing, particularly in the universe system, they are all professionals. Being an attorney is just like a walk in the park. I remember the first time that I saw an attorney on stage, and I was like, oh gosh, that was going to be my thing. And then I was like, no, exactly what you said. I am not Chesley Chris. I am not Deanne Kentish Rogers. I am not any of these people. I am Peteché Bethell, and I have something else to give. Likewise, when it comes to not being the typical body type, you have people like Sierra Brichel, who is Miss Universe Canada. She was a size 8, I think, when she competed a few years back. You have people like Maria Thatil, who was Miss Universe Australia last year, and she was 5'2" or 5'4".
Oh.
Yeah, and she got into the absolute top. So I don't think that you like all these limiting beliefs. I am not about limiting beliefs at all. Like whatever you want to do, go do it. It doesn't have to be in pageantry at all. It could be fusing two professions or whatever the case may be. Just go and do it because as wild as it may seem in a country like ours, There are people taking the risks around the world and they are successful. So please ignore the noise in the market, go do it.
Yes, that's a word right there. We all need to eliminate those limiting beliefs. And obviously, you seem like you're this empowerment speaker. So now let's transition a bit into your work in three. Now, I noticed that you guys just had Empowerment Summit yesterday, and I tuned into the live a few times. And Erlene Camille, she spoke about public speaking and not allowing the fear of
Oh, good,
public
right?
her and how she's now a talk show host and she's doing so many amazing things. So I just want to say congratulations for a successful empowerment summit.
Thank you.
So now I want you to talk all about P3, what inspired it, and tell us about what plans you have in store.
Okay, so again, all of these things are kind of tied in, right? We can go back to my story about me growing up in a single parent household. And there's not one day that I will sit here and take my mother for granted because if I had been in another household or in another sort of circumstances, I am very well aware that my success would not have been the same, or it would have been much difficult to get to where I am today. So I am indebted to her, first of all, first things first, right? And the mentorship that I received through opportunities growing up, right? So my whole thing is, yes, you have teachers, you go to school, and there are people that may impact you. But there are not really any organizations in the Bahamas where young girls can go have kind of like a big sister like I had when I went to Miss Teen Fantasy Camp and just get advice about anything that they're going through. And so that is what P3 tries to fill as a void. I used to be an art teacher at this out of school program called Focus, and it's run by the Life for Key Foundation. And so P3 is kind of fused between that and the Miss Teen Fantasy Camp kind of concept. So I put them together because Focus runs a summer program, but they also do like weekend activities. Whereas like Miss Teen Fantasy Camp had all the fun girly stuff, but it was only a 1 week activity. So that is kind of like the brainchild of that. And it would just so happen that I was doing an online workshop for pageantry when I should have been studying for my bar, my bar exams. And the speaker was saying, you know, like, why are you waiting to do all of these things when you have a title? Just start whatever you want to do. And I remember thinking everybody would always say, okay, well, what's your platform going to be? And I knew that it was going to center around education. But I have so many interests myself and so many things that I think pours into being a great young woman that I was like, okay, this is hard. So I sat down and I brainstormed and I started to talk to two very close people to me and get advice on like whether or not I was just doing too much or whether this was actually like a really good idea. And they're like, no, I think this is good. So I said, okay. And then I just made the Instagram page. I was like, what's the worst that could happen? Either people won't see it or it can become a really good thing. And just like my whole pageantry journey as well, like I was so surprised by the amount of people and the amount of outpour from people who wanted to be a part of this and wanted to mentor. And I think particularly because of the pandemic, it was such a timely opportunity and organization that needed to happen. We were all sitting home. We felt kind of like there was nothing we could do. You couldn't see people. So it started as a digital kind of organization and it expanded as we got less restrictive because of the pandemic into, I guess we do double because a lot of our girls are now in university and a lot of the mentors work away as well. So we try to do a bit of both. And there are like 6 facets of it. So we focus on self-development, health and well-being, etiquette, financial management and entrepreneurship, communications and culture, and then like school and job preparation. So
Yes. these topics. These are like stuff that aren't really addressed in school setting that you're
Exactly.
like addressed. Now this is amazing.
Yeah. And then what we also do is just like during the school term, we'll do tutoring for math and English to just kind of like piggyback off and assist because we have the beauty of P3 is that there are so many of us that we have so many different skill sets. So some are teachers, some are lawyers, some are doctors, psychotherapists, managers, like whatever. And what I did was pair each girl with a mentor that had a similar background or wanted to go in the same kind of like career field with. So that was a cool thing. And I'm very, very happy with the summit because initially it was supposed to be October 3rd, and then the date for the pageant got moved. So I was like, okay, we'll do it a month after.
Yeah.
And then after the pageant, I didn't feel like talking to anybody. I was like, I need a break. I don't want to
Mhm.
talk. I went mute on social media for a while. And I think that that was healthy and that was necessary. But at the same time, there was a lot of planning to do. So I went on vacation the week before, like about a week or so ago. And I remember the mentors like messaging me like, so they're still happening or because I haven't heard you say anything and I was like, we'll deal with it when I get back. And I came back and I like organized everything in a day and they were like, Peteché,
Wow.
what is wrong with you?
A day. Oh my goodness.
But that's the beauty of it because you have so many different people and through using those connections, each and every person's connections, you're able to get things done.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people can tell that it's actually a genuine thing, you know? Me and the girls who run it, we don't get anything of it out of it, you know? We just want to help, and a lot of people want to help too. So it's very easy to find people that will say, okay, yeah, I'm very happy to dedicate my time or my space or donate to these things. We're more than happy to do it. So luckily, with my last minute with my last minuteness I was able to pull it off, but it was a really, really beautiful day and I think the girls got a lot out of it.
Awesome. And the summit was a success.
It was a success and you can go to our page, Power Passion Purpose Project, and you can watch some of the sessions. So yeah, I'm very happy and I think they all are too.
So you spoke like the fact that you had a group of mentors with you, and because of many of you guys, everyone had different connections, and you could make a lot of things happen. So when we think about our purpose, do you think the people we're connected to is important in ensuring that we fulfill our purpose? For example, if me and you are friends, and I'm like, oh, Peteché, you look like you should be in pageant one, or having people that speak positivity into you or who are willing to invest in you. When you spoke about pageantry, you spoke about how people were willing to invest and become sponsors to you entering the pageant world. So can you tell us a bit about how having a community can impact us as it relates to fulfilling our purpose? You
Yeah,
can speak in positive and
sure. So the people you surround yourself with, I think, will make or break you.
mm,
And it's funny because when you start to do things to transition to another level or a higher stage of your life or just shift your perspective, there are some people that you can't get away from, like your family, obviously. But they will start to notice, and the first thing that'll happen is kind of like friction, right? And it may not necessarily be a detrimental thing or something they're deliberately doing. So I'll give you an example. When I decided that I wanted to lose like a lot of weight, I had to change my mindset first. But when you're on a weight loss journey, that's not something that you could do alone. So it even comes down to like habits at home and for example, one way that my family likes to show love is through feeding you and bringing you nice chips and all your favorite snacks and everything. And I had to like cut that and be like, hey, okay, no, you are actually now doing me a disservice to do this. Don't bring cookies to my room because I will eat them and I'm not supposed to be eating them, so don't do that. And so, yeah, you had to like shift it. And the people who are meant to be a part of your life will acknowledge that. It may take them a little while to kind of understand it, accept it, and maybe even follow your path too. But if they have your best interest at heart, they will accept you and they will support you and do whatever they can to assist you. So all of a sudden, it changed from, okay, we're going to eat blah, 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 to Peteché. What should we buy when we go to the food store? And shifting everything that was in the house, only having snack foods like in places that I would not go to, like my mom's bedroom, for example. They would like keep them in there, and like if it got really bad, I'd be like, hey, can I have an Oreo, please? um, and then it went one step further, and it was like, okay, so my blood pressure is up, or I have high cholesterol. Peteché, what do you think that we should be eating? How should we shift our diet? And then they started to take on my habits too, you know? So that was a real beautiful thing to kind of see. And I don't think that that's something that you don't need to be an expert in something. You don't need to be older. If you are leading a path, people will acknowledge you for that. And you can be any age. You could be 14 and make the same decision I did, and your family will notice and make a difference, right? So when it comes to friendships and everything like that, there are certain times, at least I found, and I'm sure you found it, where you have friends for different things. So you may have friends that you go out with and have a great time with. But when it's time for you to pick up those books, sometimes those friends don't understand that. They don't get that. If you're lucky, you have someone who could kind of do everything with you, and they're like, okay, yeah, now it's time to get serious. But it's very hard to find someone who could kind of like ride to the same rhythm as you. So at times it gets lonely. It really can get lonely, but during those times, I would encourage you to kind of try to find people on social media that are doing the same things as you or that you could look up to. Reach out to them. It doesn't, like, not in a weird way, please don't stalk people. But reach out to them, try to see if you can form communications and form partnerships with them and just have discussions around that. Um, I've also found that when you are at your loneliest, that's probably a time when you're supposed to be growing yourself. And it's a time where you probably need to be finding yourself as a person. So that's a time for introspection, a time for journaling, for reading, researching, finding speakers on YouTube or podcasts that you really like, and just kind of pouring into yourself, you know? So, and once you do all of that and you do the internal work, your tribe will find you. And all of a sudden, you will then be connected to people in the same way that we got connected because we have similar interests and likes and dislikes and are in the same profession and want to do a lot of other things too. You know, you find people that are like-minded to you and it naturally occurs. So you don't really have to feel pressed to go out and search or be restricted by these friendships and relationships that you've had your entire life. That doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that for your season and for your purpose right now, they may not necessarily fit. So, yeah.
That's deep. Yeah. Also love how you talked about like reaching out to people, because I think that's definitely something that I try to do. If I know I'm into, let's say, public speaking, for example, I may decide to hit up a public speaker that I love, like Anastasia Felicius. And
Exactly.
obviously, reaching out to people is extremely scary,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important, like I said earlier, to not allow fear to get in the way of you pursuing your passions. I think that's one thing that stick with me after this conversation.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
yeah,
And sorry, just on that point too, like if you're afraid to do it individually, platforms are an amazing way to do it. So a lot of the women that I looked up to, the way that we now are friends is through P3. You know, that was a means of connection. And that's one thing that's like our tagline, empowering the next generation of females one talk at a time. You know, empowerment, purpose, connection, all of those things. I think that those are crucial. So if you're afraid to go out and do it yourself, try to find an organization that you are interested in and holds the same values as you. And that's a great way to find like-minded people too.
That's really good advice. So, Peteché, I believe you are doing so many awesome things. I don't know how you have the same 24 hours as me, but it's amazing. And my question is, what message are you trying to send people who see you and they see all the work that you do and they see how you're trying to empower young women? Sorry, what message is it that you're trying to send?
Yeah. You know, I think it's kind of twofold. One is that you don't have to fit into the box or the mold that society tells you you need to be in, right? Anything that you want to do, you can go out and do it. And there are some times when you take that risk, it ends up and you get the outcome that you want. There are other times that it doesn't work out, but you meet people and you learn lessons along the way that I believe ultimately impact your purpose, right? So go out and do it. And if at any point you feel afraid or you don't feel worthy enough or you feel like you could be doing more preparation in like the interim to get to the level that you want to be, my advice I think would be, you need to go back and think about your younger self. We all have this version of ourselves that you can go back to and think about that was just so fearless and so open and adventurous and just would go out and do anything, so full of life, rambunctious, no cares in the world. Think about that person and think about what you owe to that person. So that's the first step. Then you need to think about all of the women and all of your family who came before you and everything that they poured into their lives so that you could get to where you are today. Sorry, if you hear banging, my dogs are like, they want to come inside. But so, so that's step two. Think about the people and the legacy that they left in order to make sure that you are where you are today. And then I would encourage you to take a step further and think about, I had a mentor that said to me something so profound, it never kind of left me. It was like, okay, what kind of ancestor do you want to be? And I was like, that is a heavy, heavy question. But if you frame it like that, right? If you think about everybody that paved the way to get to where you are right now, you think about your younger self and all the goals and ambitions that that younger self had, and you think about your legacy and all the people that you want to impact, I don't think there's any room for fear. You don't have the time. None of us know what could happen tomorrow, when something could happen to us in terms of our health, our resources, and what have you. So while you're capable, able, and have the time, I would just encourage you to go out and do it.
Wow. That was honestly such a perfect wrap up. And you gave us those 3 steps that I definitely gonna think about when I'm trying to figure out what's next. So thinking about my younger self, what I owe to her, thinking about the people that have gone before me and so hard, and thinking about what type of ancestor I want to be. Peteché, oh my goodness. That is really deep and such great advice. So at this time, if you have any questions for Peteché, please feel free to type your questions in the question tab of our IG Live. Peteché, I just want to say thank you so much for your words of wisdom, for
Thank you
opening
for
up
having
to
me.
us your story. Oh my, thank you, thank you.
Thank
So
you too.
at this time, we're going to do 2 giveaways, and today's giveaways will only be for people who are in the Bahamas. So our first giveaway is from Maybelline, New York. This is the beautiful box hair from Maybelline. And Maybelline so kindly gifted us 8 of their lip glosses from their lip gloss set.
Man, tell
This
me that.
is,
We could share. We could share. Don't worry about that.
I got you straight. More for that. I got you straight. But for our viewing audience, okay, so Peteché is going to tell you guys whether your answer is right or wrong. So Peteché spoke, because it's going to be 2 full questions since we're giving 8 lip glosses to 1 person. So the first question is, and then give people time to think about their answers. Say it. So the first question is, what was the coaching program that Peteché did that piqued her interest in pageantry? So what was this coaching program that Peteché took part in? She mentioned the camp that she took part in. So that's the first part of the question. What's the name of that camp? And the second question is, what island did Peteché represent in Miss Universe Bahamas? What island did Peteché represent in Miss Universe Bahamas? And what is the name of the camp that piqued her interest in pageantry? So I'm not seeing any answers come in yet. Guys, only know one. Okay, so I'm seeing Diana said Eleuthera. Peteché, do you want to say yes or no to that one? Is that part correct?
That part is correct.
Yeah, so we need the first part of that question, which was, what was the name of the camp that piqued Peteché's interest in pageantry? So I guess you would have had to be here from the beginning to hear her mention the name of this camp.
Hey, look, y'all didn't get no lip gloss. They are all coming to me.
So if you can guess the name of the camp, Diana may get this lifter lip gloss set from Maybelline. Okay, I'm saying PPE. That is incorrect. But if you think you have a guess, feel free to guess.
I feel like at this point they're just putting together random.
Yeah.
Random letters like.
Diana, looks like you're going home with this lip gloss set from Maybelline. I'm going to give 5 more seconds if anyone can think of what is the name of this. Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh,
Okay.
got it.
Yeah.
That is the answer.
Yes, that's correct.
Congratulations, Lethea. Lethea got this correct. She said teen fantasy, fantasy for teens, and Eleuthera. And I am not surprised that Lethea got Eleuthera right, because she's also the second.
Hey.
It's also on the text. I am so sorry, Diana. So if Lethea is feeling good, Diana, she may give you one of her lip glosses. So congratulations to Lethea for winning the Maybelline New York Lifter lip gloss set. Lethea, I will get in contact with you for you to claim your prize.
Congratulations, Sophia. Enjoy them, because I would have.
Is this gift bag from Neutrogena. So if you look in this bag with me, they have given us so many things. They have given us a facial cleanser.
Ooh.
A pink grapefruit foaming scrub.
That's good. I've used that one.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. And then we have this deep clean purifying wipes.
Hey, LaShanta.
We have the cream cleanser. And a few other goodies in here. We have a bar of soap. We have a shower and bath gel. And a few other things. So, Peteché, I'm going to allow you to give the question for the person who is going to win this amazing gift bag.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. I guess this will be good because the people who have just came in can kind of follow up with that. But there were 3 things that I recapped when I was asked what my message would be. Kind of 3 steps that you have to go through. What are the 3?
This is a tough one. You really would have had to be paying attention to make sure you get all 3 correct.
But I feel like you repeated it, so that's like double reinforcement. I feel these smart girls on this chat, man.
So if you can guess what the message is that Peteché said, you don't let fear stop you.
That's good. Yes.
Okay, so she said 3. So if you could keep guessing. And anyone else, if you only remember 1, you can type 1. I am jealous of whoever is going home with this Neutrogena gift bag
Me too.
because this is a lot of stuff. Remember I think I'm supposed to say your younger self.
Yeah, Thea's on a roll. Yeah.
Okay. Other people who want to guess. But so far, answer you. So we're
Well,
not seeing the answers come in
while
right
the
now.
answers are coming in, I guess. Oh, yeah, that was 1 too.
Edwina said, remember your ancestors who paved the way. Theo said he can't remember the other one. Okay, keep guessing though. You may guess the right thing. And Edwina, if you could guess 1 more or 2 more, you may get this Neutrogena gift bag. Y'all don't be shy. Anything that you think Peteché said this evening that was a message, you can feel free to type it in the chat.
I pull it for Theo land.
Okay, so while we wait for the answers to come in, I see a few questions.
Okay.
Okay, so these were questions from what I had asked earlier on my Instagram story. And one question was, how do you know if you found your purpose?
Boy, that's a great question. When y'all know, let me know. That is a fantastic question. I think I'm on the journey to finding my purpose. I don't think I've found it yet. There are certain facets that I know are incorporated in that. And so things like connecting people, communications, education, nation building, empowerment. I know that those kind of things really tie into what I am here to do. And of course, P3, I think, is a great means of doing that. And with P3, I mean, hopefully, right now, we have a few girls that are in the Family Islands as well, but hopefully that can expand regionally and then internationally. That is obviously very hard to do working a full-time job as an attorney, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm looking at the answers now.
Okay. And I think another thing too with knowing whether you're walking in your purpose is like, does it bring you joy? And is it something that you feel you're fulfilling a passion that may have been like on your heart for a long time? And I think like when you're walking in your purpose, you know.
Yeah.
But one thing that I gotta say that I think is important when we're even thinking about purpose is that whatever we find to do, we must give it 100%, because you never know what impact that thing that you're currently doing may play in your overall purpose for your life.
And it may not be the thing itself, you know. Sometimes it may be a person that you meet at a job that can lead you somewhere else or whatever it may be, you know. So, yeah, 100%. Give everything you have your all. I think it's funny when you said that, though, because one thing that Naisha said at the summit yesterday was that one good thing about internships is you can use it to test how it makes you feel. And she was talking about one particular internship she did, and she was like, wow, when I left there, I felt drained and I can give my time to anything else. And I was like, oh, that's a problem. Because I think for the attorneys, yeah, once you're done with work, it's just like, oh my gosh, I am just tired. I,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go get a glass of wine and go to bed. Like that's all I'm trying to do.
So Edna and Theo said more while we were talking. So you can look at them. Feel free to tell me which one of them two you want to give them.
Okay.
So Adriana said some friends are seasonal, find people who are to connect with people. Theo said on the same journey with you, I think.
So
It's been
I think I feel kind of bad because I think Theo answered the question that was asked, but Valdrina is like putting all the little, tips that I threw in there throughout the entire conversation as well. So I think she did a great job too.
So
Uh,
I think the Neutrogena thing is a bit more like for females, but we can give both of them a prize.
okay.
Give something else. So
Yeah.
we're gonna give a Neutrogena gift bag to Edwina. So Edwina, still congratulations. You guys have won prize. So the last so the last question. Okay, so the last one we're gonna address is our purpose an easy or difficult path?
Well, hmm. I think
Sorry, in the comments, Edwina saying they could share the light.
what you say?
Yeah, they could Theo could share.
That so I think finding your purpose is the difficult part, right? Um, it's easy to kind of just settle, and I guess I'm reading this book right now by Sarah Jakes Roberts, and it says, I think it's called like How Not to Settle or Don't Settle for Less or something like that, something to do with settling. But I think
Yeah.
it's really easy to just cave in and live, I guess, what you would call a normal life and not go the full mile and fulfill your purpose, right? That's kind of an easy fix, but I think for people who have had a slight peak or an interest in figuring out what their purpose is, there's always going to be something nagging you at the back of your head to say, okay, no, I think you need to do more. I think you need to go this way. And some people are lucky and they know from a very young age that they are supposed to do a thing and that is their purpose. Like they're child athletes that know that they're going to go to the Olympics and that's them, you know. For other people, we have to walk a few different roads and kind of fill out our purpose. And every time you get to another step, I think it becomes a bit more clear. So, yeah, that's my answer to that. I think it's easy to kind of just settle for not finding your purpose. It's difficult to find it. But once you find it, life is a breeze. So
Mm.
everything that feels like work, I don't think I think it no longer feels like work. Everything just seems seamless and you feel fulfilled every time you have to go and do a task. You may get tired, but like you're fulfilled. So like my mom, for example, yeah, she may get tired at work, but every day she goes to work and she loves what she does. And she's made such an impact with what she's doing. I'm like, I like the people that I work with. I like reading and researching, but I'm not really getting that whole oh my god, fangirl moment
Uh-huh.
that you seem to be getting. So I know for me there must be a little bit more that I need to kind of like add to my plate to find like at the end of the day what I'm truly here on this earth to do. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that was very well said. Peteché, thank you so much for this engaging conversation this evening. You were amazing.
Thank you too. Thank you for having me. And I think that this is so great just to have talks about this because again, you're using your platform the same way that we use P3 to kind of have these talks that are not necessarily shared. You may sit down with your girlfriend sometimes and it may come up, but to kind of spread that message, I think that that's phenomenal. And you're talking about so many great things that are so valuable. Purpose, finances, all those other things. I think that those are conversations that need to be had. So thank you too. You're doing a great job.
Aw, thank you so much, Peteché. I wish you all the best as you continue to walk in your purpose.
Thank you.
And
You too.
the two of the winners are both attorneys. So I think it's a coincidence that the one time I brought on an attorney, the winner as well.
You shouldn't have said that. Now they're gonna say that we rigged this.
We didn't at all. We did not break it at all. And Diana as well is a budding attorney. So Diana,
Oh,
we got you straight as well. We're gonna make sure Lethea is so kind to give you one of the glasses. We got
yeah,
you, Diana.
yeah.
But again, thank you so much, Peteché.
Thank
And
you
I will see
too.
you again soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in for our first Sunday chats of this month. Please continue to tune in every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 10 p.m. GMT. You do not want to miss these exciting discussions and these awesome giveaways. And again, congratulations to all of our winners. Next week, we'll be talking about launching a business. Now, I know a lot of us are interested in launching businesses, so next week's discussion, please do not miss it. I hope you all enjoyed my discussion with Peteché this evening, and I wish you all a wonderful evening and a great week.